We spend pretty much our whole lives chasing this thing we call a good life. But what if the rule book we've all been handed is just wrong? Well, today we're going to dig into decades of actual science to figure out what really truly works. I mean, think about it. From the time we're kids, we're just bombarded with advice on how to be happy, right? Get the best grades, you gotta land that perfect job, buy the fancy car. But what if all that advice is totally off base? What if chasing after all that stuff is actually making us less happy and way more stressed out? Well, there's actually a name for this feeling. Dr. Howard Murad calls it cultural stress. And it's that constant 24/7 hum of pressure that comes with modern life. And this isn't just in our heads, you guys. It creates real physical inflammation in our bodies, which becomes this massive barrier to both our health and our happiness. So if our culture is kind of pushing us in the wrong direction, where do we look for the right one? We turn to the science. So let's kick things off by busting some of the biggest and honestly most damaging myths about happiness. Okay, this is the big one. We are so conditioned to believe that happiness is some kind of external prize. Win the lottery, get that promotion, find the perfect partner, and then, finally, you'll have long-term fulfillment. We're told it's a game of achieving and acquiring things. But then you look at the longest scientific study of happiness ever conducted. We're talking the 85-year Harvard study, and it found the exact opposite. They tracked thousands of lives from start to finish, and their big takeaway, it was shockingly simple. The single greatest predictor of our health and our happiness over a whole lifetime, it wasn't money, it wasn't fame, it wasn't career success. It was the quality of our relationships. That's it, period. All right, so what about the things we can't control? It is so easy to fall into the trap of thinking that, health and happiness are just a genetic lottery. You either get the good longevity genes or you don't, right? Well, scientists found the perfect way to test this by studying twins. A huge Danish study looked at thousands of them to figure out just how much of our lifespan is truly locked in by our genetics. And the answer they found? Well, it pretty much came down to this one mind-blowing number. Just let that sink in for a second. What that really means is our DNA is not our destiny, not even close. The choices you and I make every single day, what we eat, how much we move, who we spend our time with, that stuff has 4 times the impact on how long and how well we live compared to the genes we were handed at birth. That is huge. Now, this one might be the most subtle, but it's also a really powerful myth. It's this idea that a good life is simply a life filled with one pleasant moment after another, that the goal is just to maximize pleasure and avoid pain at all costs. But, as it turns out, the science shows us a much richer and frankly more interesting picture. And this brings us to a really crucial distinction. See, researchers have actually identified 2 completely different types of happiness, and understanding the difference, well, it changes everything. So on one hand, you've got hedonia. This is the happiness of pleasure, enjoying a great meal, watching a funny movie, that feeling good sensation. But on the other hand, you have eudaimonia. This is the happiness of meaning, that sense of purpose, of personal growth, and of contributing to something that's bigger than just yourself. So which one has more power? A massive study that spanned 12 different countries put it to the test. They measured how much both pleasure-seeking and meaning-seeking contributed to a person's overall life satisfaction. And the results? They couldn't have been clearer. While both mattered, a sense of meaning was almost 3 times more impactful. And neuroscience actually gives us a clue as to why. Turns out, our brains have separate, totally distinct circuits for wanting something and for actually liking it. So when we just chase pleasure, we can supercharge that wanting system, and it creates this treadmill of desire where we constantly need more and more just to feel the same level of enjoyment. It's a total recipe for dissatisfaction. So, okay, if meaning is the goal, how in the world do we get there? Well, long-term research points to a really clear pathway. A strong sense of purpose is deeply, deeply connected to living by your moral values and contributing to the well-being of others. It really shows that the path to a meaningful life isn't so much about feeling good as it is about doing good. Okay, so we've busted the myths, we understand the incredible power of meaning. So now what? How do we put all of this into practice? Let's build our toolkit by looking at the habits of the world's longest-lived and happiest people. When you get right down to it, all of the science really boils down to 3 core areas of practice. It's about nourishing your body, cultivating your mind, And so crucially, nurturing your tribe. Let's start with the absolute foundation, your physical health. I mean, you can't build a happy life on a crumbling foundation, right? Research from top institutions like UCSF is crystal clear. A heart-healthy diet, regular movement, and good sleep are completely non-negotiable for our mental and emotional well-being. Now, check this out. When researchers studied blue zones, these are the places where people live the longest, healthiest lives on Earth, they found these common threads. They have a sense of purpose, they have routines to shed stress, a diet that's heavy on plants, but look at the last two. Right tribe and loved ones first. Does that sound familiar? I mean, that's the Harvard study's #1 finding, right there in action. The world's healthiest people intentionally build their lives around deep social connection. And this isn't just some abstract idea. Just take the incredible story of Stamatis Moraitis. He was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Doctors gave him months to live. So instead of treatment, he moved back to his home island of Ikaria, reconnected with all his old friends, and planted a garden. And get this, he didn't just survive, he thrived. Stamatis Moraitis lived for another 37 years. It's just a stunning testament to the power of community and purpose. So beyond the body and our tribe, the final pillar is the mind. And this isn't about just being lucky or having a naturally sunny disposition. Psychologists find that the happiest people actively train their mindset with specific habits, things like practicing gratitude, treating themselves with kindness, and, importantly, accepting that negative emotions are just a normal part of life. And that really brings us to the ultimate conclusion from all of this research. Just as Dr. Murad says, you are the author of your life. A good life isn't something that just happens to you. It's not something you can win or buy. It's something you actively build through your choices, your habits, and your connections, day after day after day. So the science gives us the blueprint. We know what works. But at the end of the day, you're the one holding the tools. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build?